Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I try to open your eyes and ears up to some of the travails and tribulations that take place throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. And we just got through with the Labor Day weekend. And for those who do not pay attention to the national news or social media, I got to talk about my beloved city that is falling apart day by day, Chicago, Illinois. And the irony in these weekend celebrations or national holidays, it's supposed to be a time of gathering with friends and family and loved ones. In Chicago, our parks and our streets are turning into killing fields. The number of shootings that took place over the weekend in Chicago are just unimaginable, and there are too many innocent victims that are losing their lives. And you're seeing that this is a heightened area of individuals that look just like each other. Black on black crime. And I think that part of the reason that you're seeing some of this is an absence of manhood, an absence of father-like men in the homes. So that would be fathers, uncles, grandfathers, any kind of male mentorship that we're lacking in our urban black community. We're talking about inept inner city failed public schools. Kids are reading at 3 and 4 grade levels behind where they should be. We're talking about a lack of love and trust, which both of those words are an action and a verb. You have to show that person, not just tell them that you love them and trust them, and they have to show you. And you have to develop those skills. And I think a lot of our young people in the urban market are lacking those skill developments. And there is a godless scenario that's involved in this epidemic of violence that is taking place in our major cities like Chicago. Also, President Trump is talking about bringing in the National Guard. And for those who think that he shouldn't, what happened over the Labor Day weekend almost seems like it supports him bringing in some kind of federal help to aid in reducing this level of violence. You got to remember, Chicago is down about 2,500 police officers. So they need the help. I don't know if the National Guard is the answer, but I do have family members on the west side and south side of Chicago, and those are some very dangerous areas. It's also ironic that when people talk about, especially in the urban market, about defunding the police and we should use nonviolence prevention programs and community policing, you don't hear any of that in the suburbs. You don't hear any of that in Barrington, the west suburbs of Chicago. You don't hear that in Ladue, Chesterfield, and St. Louis, St. Charles County. Isn't it a little bit ironic that you're only hearing about self-policing in our black communities? And I think that would present an even higher level of killing fields if we did not have any form of public safety with our law enforcement and our police force. I do not agree with that. It is already dangerous enough. And going through this story that I'm going to tell you about, which with the stuff that happened in Chicago over the weekend, it should reinforce that we need more policing. We need to remove the absence of manhood and to engage being self-reliant, self-resilient, having a certain level of humility and humanity, and upping our ethical and moral mantra for mankind. So let's get into what happened in Chicago over the Labor Day weekend holiday. 8 killed and 50 wounded in Chicago over long weekend as President Trump warns of federal deployment. 8 people were killed and 50 were wounded over the Labor Day weekend in dozens of shootings in Chicago, where President Donald Trump has seized on crime to try to justify a greater federal role on the city's streets. The toll highlights Chicago's persistent struggle with gun violence and reveals a grim reality. Spikes in shootings during summer holiday weekends, particularly on the south and west sides. The violence this time was deadlier than last Labor Day, when 7 people were killed and more than 20 were wounded. Trump blasted the city and his leaders in a post on his social media platform on Tuesday, labeling Chicago as the worst and most dangerous city in the world by far. Mayor Brandon Johnson and Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, both Democrats, have repeatedly said there's no reason for Trump to send the National Guard, which is on the ground in the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C., targeting crime, immigration, and homelessness. Now remember, in Chicago, they have the same issues. There's a high propensity of homelessness, opioid crisis, immigration issues, and gun violence. We've got crime on the streets, Pritzker said. Governor Pritzker acknowledged last week. Any person that gets killed or hurt is a victim of a crime, is somebody that we ought to be addressing the challenges for. And we're doing that every day, Pritzker said. But the way to do it is with police officers, not troops. And I agree with that. However, there is, again, an understaffing of about 2,500 police officers. They're underpaid, underappreciated, and it is a highly dangerous job and career. They are putting their lives on the line each and every day, and definitely in places like Chicago, New York, Philadelphia, etc. Between Friday night and Monday night, 58 people were shot in 37 separate shootings in the nation's third largest city, according to preliminary information from police. Most survivors were in good or fair condition, but several were listed in serious or critical condition, including a 17-year-old boy. In most cases, no suspect was in custody. Now, did you hear that? How in the world are 60% of the murders that are taking place in Chicago going unsolved? And Mayor Brandon Johnson last year decided to get rid of shot spotting, where you hear where they had a technology in high volume crime neighborhoods where if they hear something that sounds like a gunshot, it alerts the police to go to that area. He got rid of that, which I disagree with. On Saturday, Trump warned Governor Pritzker in a social media post that he must straighten out Chicago's crime problem quickly, or else the federal government is coming. Separately, the Trump administration is expected to expand immigration operations in Chicago. The Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem confirmed plans for a greater presence of federal agents. So also the thing that you have, so you got several elements going on in Chicago. You have the opioid crisis, you have homelessness, you have the immigration issue, and you have major drug cartels in Chicago. We're going straight from Mexico for the last several decades. Chicago has been a hub where major drugs have been dropped off in those cities, and it's decimating the city of Chicago. Mayor Johnson over the weekend signed an executive order declaring that Chicago police will not collaborate with military personnel on police patrols or civilian immigration enforcement. Police will not be deputized to do traffic stops and checkpoints for the president, said the mayor, adding that the Trump administration is out of control. Violent crime has dropped in recent years in Chicago, where the population is about 2.75 million, but it remains a persistent problem in certain neighborhoods. So say the city overall crime has dropped, but the west side and the south side of Chicago, where the preeminent and predominant number of shootings, carjackings, assaults that are taking place, they have not dropped. They've increased. So these statistical analysis on crime dropping or reducing is only in certain parts, but the bulk of the crime is on the west side and the south side of Chicago. So if you're interviewing white suburban folks in Chicago on the south side or the west side of the suburbs, they may think that Chicago's fine. But you get into the heartbeat of Chicago, downtown Chicago, the west side of the city, the south side of the city, it is a completely different situation. And the second question is, when President Trump sends these troops in, is he going to send them to the Magnificent Mile, the South Loop and the West Loop in downtown Chicago where tourists are, or is he sending them into these high crimes neighborhoods like the South Side and the West Side? That could end up being a melting pot, a boiling pot of a dangerous situation. So it depends on where is he sent. Is President Trump sending them there just for show and tell, or are they going to be able to really reduce crime? I don't know. There's only so much that the National Guard can do. Their presence alone may be able to reduce some violence, but we'll have to see. Some of the highest homicide rates have 68 times more homicides than those with the lowest rates. That's what I'm saying about the West Side and South Side city. According to the University of Chicago Crime Lab, last year the city reported 573 homicides, or 21 per 100,000 residents. It's a lot of people getting shot and killed. According to the Rochester Institute of Technology, and other cities have had higher rates. But homicides and shootings are down in 2025 compared to the same period last year, where 278 murders had happened through August, which police are saying is a 31% drop. I think that's over the entire machination of the city of Chicago, but I don't think those numbers have dropped on the west side and south side city of Chicago. Something needs to happen. There is way too many shootings and killings at a time of a celebration for these national holidays where you're supposed to love each other. These places are turning into killing fields. So whether barbecuing in the park or having a backyard event in Chicago, that can be a very dangerous situation. Something needs to be done in Chicago immediately.